Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Cornell Harvey, along with fellow commissioners, Commissioner Julie Martin, Commissioner Vincent Williams, Commissioner Johnny Cason, and our Mayor Pro Tem, Felicia Harris. I'd like to welcome you to our City Council meeting. I'd like to call to order this council meeting dated Wednesday, May the 19th. We are meeting virtually via Zoom, and we will have our invocation led by Commissioner Julie Martin, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by myself. So please bow your heads as Commissioner Julie Martin issue our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor Harvey. Lord, we just ask that you would be with us, that your presence would be felt, that we acknowledge that you are Lord and Savior, you reign supreme. We thank you for the gift of life each day and ask that you would protect those that guide and protect us each day, our firefighters, our police. And we ask that you would help us to be clear in thought and mind tonight as we deliberate over the decisions that lead our city forward. And we thank you that you give us this opportunity. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you everyone for attending this evening. Before I continue on, is there any addition or deletions to our agenda, printed agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I have an addition to the agenda.
Okay.
Under items to be considered for approval, to declare unused vehicles as surplus from the police department via Chief Kevin Jones.
Second. Okay, motion second to place that item on our agenda. Surplus vehicles coming from the police department. Are there any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed have the same right. That motion carries. Thank you. We will make that item number, let's see here. Let's make it
Aye.
item, excuse me?
6A.
6A is great. Okay. All right. Our first item. Oh, my screen just went blank. So please, oh, there it is. It came back. Appointments. This is Planning and Appeals Commission, 4 appointments and appointment of a chairperson. It's been in our packet. As you can see, there are Donald Lutz, David Bowers, Hetty Bernstein as alternate, and Dolores Harrison. We seem to have, in my package, there are 2 individuals asking for reappointment, and that seems to be Ms. Dolores Harrison and Mr. Dave Bowers. Did anyone receive anything differently?
No,
What
that
I-
was it, Mayor. Those are 2 that turned in their reappointment.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the reappointment of Dolores Harrison and David Bowers, and that we appoint as chairperson Lance Saby.
Second.
Motion second for the reappointment of Dolores Harrison, Dave Bowers, and also Mr. Lance Saby as chairman. Comments, and the comment I have is Lance Saby on this board already?
Yes, he is.
He is,
He's
okay.
already on the board.
Okay.
So we probably need to solicit additional applicants for the open positions, it looks like.
Sure, for Hetty Bernstein and Donald Lutz. Okay. Motion second for Hetty Bernstein and Dolores Harris, excuse me, or Dave Bowers and and Dolores Harrison, excuse me, for appointment also to appoint Lance Saby as the chairman. Any further comments?
Is the chairman appointment ours, or does that belong to the planning commission?
Well, it
It's
belongs,
the,
he's already on the board of the planning commission. So.
yes, in the bylaws, the commission appoints the chairperson for this commission.
Yeah,
Planning and
thank
Zoning.
you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mhm.
any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Hearing nothing from the opposing side, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Okay, our next item is updates. Downtown Development Authority Executive Director Matthew Hill to give an annual review and update on activities, statistics of the Main Street Downtown Development Authority. Mr. Hill, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Can everyone hear me? Sometimes I have trouble with this microphone.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm here to talk a little bit about 2020, a year that I'm sure we will all remember for a long time, be able to tell our grandchildren about. Last year, we were able to add a couple of there we go. Employees to the Downtown Development Authority. Jennifer Kraus came on as our events and marketing manager when Harvest Johns left. Harvest is still doing some graphic design work for us, but she no longer lives in Georgia. And Dylan Lukic, a recent graduate of College of Coastal Georgia, who is doing business development and economic strategy. I'm sure you're all familiar with the board. Wendy Lutz is the chair. She will be rotating off as chair next month, and Courtney Prince will become the chair. Rita Spalding is coming up for renewal. I believe she has decided not to seek reappointment. Peggy Shanahan, Lisa Jordan, Whitney Herndon, and Julie Martin. And we also reactivated the advisory board. Those members are Michael Kaufman, Ann Goodstein, Therese Hamilton, Richard Altman, and Hetty Bernstein. And they've all worked with us very hard this year and last year, especially with COVID. You know, we were going along pretty good in January and February, and then in March, we started to get states of emergency and executive orders. Businesses were forced to close for a time. A lot of events got canceled. We were able to restructure some of our events. First Friday, for instance, we did cancel one, but then we closed a wider range of the streets and were able to have First Friday and still allow for social distancing. Our Rhythm on the River, we couldn't have it in person, so it was streamed live, and that was pretty successful. Larger events like the Elvis Festival, that got canceled. But the biggest impact of COVID was on the businesses. Businesses were forced to look at how they were doing business, especially retail. And the city made some accommodations by allowing businesses to reserve parking spaces for order pickup, whether it be retail or restaurant. Restaurants did a great job with order pickup and branching out into delivery. We had one that even had a T-Rex delivering curbside meals one day. And the retail businesses looked at new avenues, especially using social media to do virtual shopping, where you could shop the store in the comfort of your home and then pick up your order. And we spent a lot of this time working with the businesses to try to keep them abreast of what was going on, what the executive orders said. And we partnered with the Opportunity Brunswick, the city's economic development arm. the Golden Isles Development Authority and the Golden Isles Chamber of Commerce to come up with Coastal Strong, which was a website designed to help businesses find all the information they need in one place. So it was a clearinghouse for information. We provided webinars on that site for businesses and guidance on how to apply for the various aid programs that were out there. Of course, you know, the 4th of July got canceled last year. We moved the fireworks to Labor Day, but we did hand out our 100 watermelons still. There was quite a crowd that morning of 4th of July for watermelons. And then the Labor Day festival went very well. We had a respectable crowd that was not too big. A lot of people stayed in their cars and watched the fireworks. So that was pretty successful, and that was kind of our first foray back into doing some events. And after that, we decided we could go ahead with the Christmas tree lighting and the other holiday events, and those came out pretty good. In fact, the Christmas parade had a larger attendance than anyone's seen in recent years. Even though we didn't have quite as many participating floats, the attendance was really good. Let's see, and then we did the shrimp drop. That's the picture in your lower left. That was at New Year's. We reactivated that. We had a contest to design Bob the Shrimp, and we dropped him from the tower at Mary Ross Park on New Year's. And again, the crowd was good, but not overly big. And everybody was doing a really good job with distancing. Some of the other things that happened last year, I talked about Rhythm on the River already and First Friday being canceled, but in all we had 239 virtual and in-person events. One of those was Coastal Workers Talk Shop, where entrepreneurs and prospective entrepreneurs could hear from small businesses in the community about how they got started, what was needed to start a small businesses. And the trunk or treat last year was a walkthrough. You made an appointment, got a set time to go through the trunks, all while allowing for social distancing. We also had our first enrollment event. This was done in 2 places on Norwich Street, and it was to encourage people to enroll at College of Coastal Georgia, Coastal Pines, and the Golden Isles Career Academy. And while we didn't have a huge turnout, we think that was pretty successful, and we are going to continue doing that. And even though during the beginning of COVID, we had some delay in a lot of projects, you know, we had a lot of things coming in the pipeline in January and February. And then when COVID hit, you know, businesses were closed, architects couldn't work. So things kind of slowed down. But boy, once they started up again, they really started up. So last year, we had 113 net new jobs in the DDA district and 38 new businesses, which is pretty good for considering we had COVID. We had very few businesses close. We fared a lot better than many communities in Georgia did. 30 rehabilitation projects started with $6 million in improvements. And overall, here's the key number. We had $13,742,000 in public-private investment in the DDA area, even with COVID. And we did still give out some Jumpstart grants and facade grants. And the exciting number is the investment ratio. For every public dollar spent on incentives, there was $49 in private investment realized from that. So that's a pretty good return on our investment. And here we've got just a couple more things. We worked with the Brunswick African American Culture Center with a tourism grant, which was awarded. Although it wasn't as large as we had hoped, the Georgia Department of Economic Development is encouraging us to reapply for that for a larger amount. We had a huge increase in the Main Street Alliance membership. Those are paid members in a program which allows them to apply for a different grant pool that's funded out of the memberships. We had 100, because of COVID and there wasn't much news going on elsewhere, there was a lot of articles and promotions published, 726 of those. We did get the I-95 billboard up. We're still waiting on a second good spot. We've had some spots come up, but they've been terrible placement. And we were re-awarded as a Georgia Exceptional Main Street for another 3-year period. And of course, this was this year, but just a couple weeks ago, we had the Capital Coast Governor's Office of Highway Safety event, and they were so pleased with Brunswick, they are going to start in Brunswick next year, rather than ending in Brunswick. And finally, here this year, we're going to see a lot of recovery, and we are well positioned for that. The knowledge economy, which would be graphic designers, advertising agencies, marketing companies, favor downtown areas because of the office space that's available. It's more dense, so that is a market that we are actively going after. And being between Savannah and Jacksonville, we have 2 huge markets for them within easy distance. And some of these are all from the Brookings Institute. Proximity, the high density of office creates more retail, food, and arts businesses, and employment centers that are located within easy access to residential areas, which downtown and Norwood Street are very attractive because it allows people to get to work with a variety of modes. They can walk to work, they can bike to work, of course, drive to work. So we provide this dense job center, and it provides an opportunity to benefit all of our residents. So I think this year we're going to see huge strides forward. Of course, you all know we've got some residential coming along. The Port City Lofts is fully leased out, and they had a huge number of people applying for lofts. That's 12 units there, the 8 units in the Crest building, those are condos. Work is progressing on that, and Liberty Building's 10 units are coming along. So that's all I have for you this evening. If you have any questions.
I have a comment, actually, and I have served on the Downtown Development Authority Board for several years, but I would like to say and go on record as a full commission, we have really pushed forward with incentives and being prepared as we came out of the recession in order to reignite development within our community. Those years that we went through that were very tough and very challenging during the recession, I think we focused on the right things. We were very intentional in what we did and what we approved and looked at and put in motion so that as we came out of the recession, we were poised and ready for appropriate redevelopment in our community. And I think as a full commission and a mayor, we need to toot our horn about that because we worked hard for that. Those were things that we really had to all get educated on and push forward within our community. And I think it was the right thing to do. And we are now starting to reap the benefits of that. And I think our Downtown Development Authority Board and all of those that have been working behind the scenes have helped push that forward. I think the fact that they have recruited some additional staff to push forward at the right time with things and events and pushing everything has worked out very well, and that we will be able to see the fruits of all of that labor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin, that is so true, all that you said. It couldn't be said any better than what you have spoken. We thank the Downtown Development Authority for all the help and the stability that we have shown, that they have shown throughout this period that we've been going through, and also how we've helped our businesses downtown and other areas too as well to come along and continue to be stabilized. And we're looking for even higher heights because, as you said, we prepared ourselves for these things. Sometimes it takes government a long time to realize things. It's slow going sometimes, but when it takes off, it takes off. So I'm happy about that. So thank you for your service on that board too, Commissioner Martin. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Matthew Hill?
Mayor, I'd just like to add, if I may, that I think part of the reason that we were able to weather this so well is because the commission and the other city offices were able to sometimes think a little light on their feet, but a lot of it does go to our communities, you know, not only the business community, but the residents of the city of Brunswick that supported the businesses, and therefore they were able to get through the pandemic. So we acted as a community, and that's what Brunswick is, and I'm proud to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any other comments?
I think, you know, I think the first Fridays really and truly have a lot to do with an awful lot of it. It does bring the community together. And Matthew, I want to ask you one other question. Did you ever get up with that David Zelnick and check with him to see why he hasn't been to Brunswick? Or will he come to Brunswick?
I did find his email address and send him an email, rather not scathing, but a suggestive email. And I discovered that he's a contact on LinkedIn with me. So I found that today. I will keep after Mr. Zelznick.
Well, I think we've really got an awful lot. Yeah, I think we've got an awful lot to showcase. I really do. As much as Darien and as much as Richmond Hill, I do believe, if not more, a lot more. So, and the thing about the farmers market, I want to stay with that thing. We have really built up downtown and the south end down there, and I think an open air market, the more we can have it open down there with appropriate vendors, the more people we're going to have coming to downtown.
Oh, we do have a new vendor at the farmers market. Of course, it was affected by COVID too. So last year it was down somewhat, but Pot Liquor Farms is a new Saturday vendor. And I've had a couple of discussions with Sam. He is looking to start another day that may be an organic day at the market. So he's talking with some of his fellow organic local growers to try to build that up too. So
good. Did you get an opportunity to check into the kiosk?
The buildings from the village?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have a little news about that I'll share with you tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
But the only other comment I would like to make is that I feel as a full commission, we took hold of what was before us, and we came out with some great plans for the future to set the stage for our full community. And I think through Travis Stiegel and others within our city staff, we've been able, and certainly as Ms. McDuffie has come on board, to really take advantage of, you know, the opportunity zone, the
Enterprise zone,
the land bank authority. I mean, we've worked hard as a commission to really pull some things together, jumpstart facade grants. I feel like we really did a lot of work during those years of recession to set the stage for redevelopment. And it's great to see the dividends pay off and see those young people who have reinvested in our community are making things happen. So I'm very excited about that.
I am too.
I do have another question for Matthew. Matthew, I would like to get this over with. The lady in front of the fire station in the old gas station, what's going on there?
She is, I believe now she has a conditional CO. She needed that to get some other work done, so she should be completing that project soon. If you've peeked behind the fence, it really looks nice. I did get an email from her that she had invited me to take a look, so I'll let you know when that is and see if she'd extend that to the commission also. Because remember, that was a stabilization,
Right.
part of the stabilization program. So you and your fellow commissioners and the mayor helped that project along. And when that fence comes down, it's going to be an eye opener.
That's great. Mighty good.
Thank you, Matthew. Any further questions for Mr. Hill? Okay, thank you again, Matthew, for that update. And thank you for your organization, DDA, doing the great things they do for our community, especially our downtown. And we have resurgence back for downtown. I noticed also First Fridays, you're bringing out a little bit more food trucks, which I think is a great thing. And you're blocking off the street, which I think is another great thing too as well. So it seems that people are wanting to come out. Maybe they've been shut up too long, or maybe they just want to come out because we have some great things downtown. So well, I'm looking for the latter myself. So again, thank you, and continue to do great things for our city. I'll let you know that it is noticed. We do notice, and we do give you honor for doing that. So thank you so very much.
Well, and you all should be proud of your city. So,
but we are.
Keep going.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving right along. Item to be considered for approval. Item number 3, consider approval of May 5th, 2021 regular scheduled meeting minutes. It was provided in our packet.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's been properly motion second for the approval of our May 5th, 2021 regular scheduled meeting minutes. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none from the opposing, that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4, consider approval of resolution number 2021-08, allocation of undesignated SPLOST 6 funds. Our city manager, Ms. Regina McDuffie, will be presenting.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. As you know, we collected more money for SPLOST 6 than was planned in the budget that was allocated for those capital projects. And I wanted to set forth some, I guess, recommendations for some of that overage. Of course, I did confer with the city attorney and with our auditors before formulating this information, and also wanted to just make sure we were within the guidelines for the state auditing process as well. I am recommending that, well, as you know, we were set to collect about $13.8 million was the budget for our SPLOST 6. We collected a little bit more than 1.8 million more than what was allocated in that budget. And I will share my screen at this time so that you all can see. Let me make sure which document I'm going to. This is the resolution that to take some of the undesignated funds and use them for purposes primarily for storm drainage improvements, sidewalk replacement, and upgrades, and to reimburse the general fund. As I was stating, and it shows on my spreadsheet, the allocation was approximately $1.8 million more than the $13.8 million budget that was set. In addition to that, we have fees and interest that has been collected for SPLOST 6 of $236,000. That leaves us with an estimated undesignated funding, and this is based on some numbers. I think it was as of the interest kind of changes per month, so it may be a little bit more than that right now, but at this point, we're about $2.1 million of undesignated funding in our SPLOST 6 fund. As you know, we had already put in for the grant for Magnolia Park, and we are already decided to add some, put up about $800,000 of that funding to support that part of the, I'm sorry, I said grant, but it's a loan. So of that project support for Magnolia Park, $800,000 of that had already been kind of set aside or determined to support the continued funding of that project. In addition to the money that we were putting towards Magnolia Park, I would like for the commission to support another $508,000 of improvement for storm drainage. And this money is not necessarily designated for a project specifically. It's for support of design of an engineering, preliminary engineering and design of the projects that we have on our master plan. As you can see, this is, we're going to start with the first 4 to 5 projects here. And I would like to put that $508,000 toward the preliminary design and engineering for these projects. Of course, that our SPLOST did not pass, so we don't have significant money to put toward the drainage right now, but I would like to go ahead and do the engineering and prepare so that when hopefully we get the SPLOST approved, we will be ready, you know, shovel ready to start on these projects. So that's where the $508,000 will go toward the preliminary engineering of the first 5 projects on this list. Okay, let me get back to, I'm sorry, my screen like I want to. That's not the one. Okay. So in addition to that, we had approved for about $30,000 to support the additional sidewalks that we were planning. And then we have about $20,000 more sidewalk support that we would like to just include to make sure that we finish all the sidewalks that we have planned right now. So that's the additional money that we're putting into sidewalks. In addition to those allocations, I would like to, and I'm recommending to transfer back to the general fund $328,000. This $328,000 was transferred over from the general fund to purchase fire equipment, I think a fire truck and a fire vehicle, because we were, at the time that that equipment was being bought, we didn't have, you know, enough money, or we didn't know how much money we were going to get in the SPLOST. So we, instead of not purchasing because of the cost, we went ahead and transferred money from the general fund to make those purchases. And again, I did confer with the auditors and on this issue, and they said it was, they thought it would be, you know, okay and approved for us to transfer this money back to the general fund. I do have a proposal upcoming to allocate these funds. And since they were spent for public safety, I would like to keep them in public safety. So I do have a recommendation for allocation for some police vehicles, but we'll have to bring that back to you all at either one of the meetings in June. So at this point, what I'm proposing is that a total of $1.6 million of the undesignated funds be used for this purpose. We will have remaining approximately $425,000 overages that we have in some of the projects that have not been complete. So in conclusion, basically, I'm asking that we designate these funds for these purposes, mainly for storm drainage, so we can continue our work and continue to move forward with the projects in our master plan and get shovel ready so that when we do get the funding for those projects, we can move forward quickly. And again, to finish off the sidewalks and put money back into the general fund. And with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Questions for Mr. Go ahead. Sorry.
I have a question. And I'm a little bit concerned with about we didn't have anything in there allocated for specifically for College Park and their flooding issues. Or do we have another batch of money or another fund that we can pull those things from?
That's my question as well, Commissioner.
In terms of College Park, no, I mean, the only thing we have left right now, because we have to support that, what we did on Magnolia Park, I would have to with Garrow in terms of, and I know, you know, no.
Yeah, you were
There's a
freezing.
huge delay in what you're saying, Ms. McDuffie. It's like your screen freezes and then we can't hear you for a period of time.
I'm sorry, I'm using the hotel Wi-Fi in Augusta.
Okay.
Well, I know about College Park. We had, at first we had funds designated for College Park, and then we decided to, as a county did as well, we thought that we would get a grant, I believe, coming out of that from some, I can't remember organization, to help us with that, with College Park, and it did not come through. So I don't know where we are with that right now.
Well, where we are with that project, Mayor, we are going to, DCA said that they will have a pot of money that we can apply for that may be less competitive as of August. And this may be projects that are for the communities that are most in distress. So I'm hopeful that that pool of applicants will be less and we will be able to reapply for those dollars. So that's where we are on that project. But I think also that we currently still have about $1 million of funding in the SPLOST 6 that was already designated for College Park.
So what's the status on that? What's going on with College Park?
As far as I know, they are working, you know, on the project at this point. They have, I'm not sure exactly what the status is, but I know the grant funding was delayed. So I would have to get you an update on that.
Okay, if we could have that and have that ready for the next meeting so that we can provide the residents of College Park as well as the entire community status update so they'll know that they've not been forgotten. We don't want anybody to think that they've been pushed to the side or anybody else is getting any other treatment, because this College Park, we all know, has been persisting for decades.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would totally agree with that. If there's an update to know that the full amount of funding for the improvements and the needed stormwater drainage has been collected and we're just moving forward, that's good information to know. If we don't have the full amount of funding, then we need to take a look at what needs to be done in order to pull that money in.
Yes, and I know because they've had questions regarding that new development. That's
yeah, right on the
coming right
corner.
there, and potential problems that could be presented with that. And so I know they have a lot of questions because I've attended their meetings and stuff. So we need to be able to answer that and answer it satisfactorily for them.
Also, please find out what's the county status on that too, because the city and the county was going together to handle that situation in College Park. I know we had a design team or someone did a survey as to how the water flows through the engineering. I think what it was.
Well,
So,
I did sit in on the meeting that the grant administrator had with the DCA. And basically I was very disappointed because DCA did not fund the grant that was applied for because they said that the information that was provided was 3 years old and the cost estimate was 3 years old. But I felt like they should have told us that on the front end to say your information needs to be updated. But however, at this point, they have said that we will, have some available funding as of August, but I will follow up with that and make sure, and as well as look into any other funding that we could provide for that project.
okay.
Has any drawings or engineering work been done to this point? I know we talked about it, but has any of that stuff been done and any of that information been given to the citizens over there in College Park or residents in that area?
Yeah, all of the design work has been done for College Park. It had to be done in order for the preliminary cost estimates. So it's being re-updated right now. And once we get that updated information, I will make sure that we go to the residents and provide that information. Plus, at that point, have some kind of firm information regarding the funding for the project.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that we afford
I agree.
College Park their platform, because I mean, my heart just goes out to them as well. I'm happy that we're doing what we're doing in Magnolia Park, but College Park, and even in the hospital area and all of those areas that have been just dealing with this for so long, we got to be able to give them some type of resolution.
Some type of relief for sure.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, I have not had, because that project was so far along, I have not looked at the specifics of it, but I will delve into the specifics and see if there's something that we as the city can do going forward, because I know a large portion of that project, some of it is in the county, but I'll look at it to see if there's something we can do, to get it started even before this grant process, because, generally the reason that I was so upset with the grant is because, it pushes it back another 6 months in terms of the funding being available, and not that it'll be available in 6 months, but that we'll have to apply for it, in about 6 months and go through that process. So I will look at it to see if there's some preliminary things or some funding that we can go ahead or start, making some improvements over there prior to that process going through.
I sure appreciate it. And I think just kind of keeping them abreast and making sure that they are kept informed of the status of what's going on. I think that would really help them as well as seeing and making sure, like with the ditch cleaning and all of that stuff that you have been on top of. We appreciate that, and seeing the bodies out there, not just hearing the same old talk again. So I appreciate that, and let's just keep working and keep them informed. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And I will certainly put some special attention to that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too that, not only are they building that one building on Altama, but on Community Road, they're building another building that's gonna have a lot of impervious surface that's gonna create more drainage going in that direction. So we really need to stay on top of this. And I appreciate all the work that you've done, Mr. McDuffie, and the entire staff to get this, get this behind us and get it taken care of.
I think also as our staff look at new buildings being built, they will understand that what building, how the drainage affect other areas as well as we move forward. So thank you. Any further questions for Ms. McDuffie? All right. I entertain a motion, Commissioner, on this resolution number 2021-08.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-08, allocation of undesignated SPLOST 6 funds
Second.
as stated.
Motion and second by everybody for the approval of resolution number 2021-08, allocation of undesignated SPLOST Fund 6. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same right. Not hearing anything from the opposing, that motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. Okay, our next item is, give me a minute here. Our next item is item number 5. Consider approval of Norwich Common Revolving Fund Guidelines, Boundaries Revisions, and Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Travis Stegall will be presenting.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. So first, I would like to say, please forgive my voice. I've been battling with some strep throat, some respiratory, everything you can imagine over the last 4 days. So forgive the sexiness in my voice. So today we are revisiting the Norwich Common Revolving Loan Fund. I'm going to start to share my screen now. Wait a minute, sorry. I think I just closed it down. Okay, here we go. Okay. So in a letter that was actually dated back on April the 2nd, I was really asking for a few things on this approval to revise both the boundaries and some of the guidelines and procedures pertaining to the Norwich Common Fund. And without reading the letter, I will just summarize basically what the letter was saying. I'm pretty sure that you guys got a chance to see it in your package. But the two biggest issues that we really wanted to solve in the revision of these guidelines was we found out that the boundary lines were actually too short to service the actual purpose that this was really intended for. And you can kind of see in this original boundary lines that kind of started like at 5th Street and ended at S Street. One of the things that we quickly found out was there were more businesses that needed to be serviced a little bit further down within that boundary line that were already operating, that was already employing individuals that were there in the community. And so we first realized that the shortened boundaries of the original set needed to be increased. And mainly for a couple of things. It needed to be increased for business retention because there are actually businesses that are currently operating, that has been operating for well over 15 or 20 years in the area. And there are other businesses that want to open up. And so it just so happened the cluster of businesses, the available business space is a little bit further down going toward L Street. The second thing that we found as we started to try to administer the grant was, the loan portion was the high cost of administering it. In our last set of guidelines and procedures, part of the procedures of approving or even getting an application done was we needed to run title searches for each of the projects that we were going to do in order to issue a loan against a property. Whether it was a capital improvement to a property or whether it was just equipment to a property. And so the deal is that as we started to put the revolving loan fund out, we also found that there were more individuals that were looking for equipment, tangible items, and not so many that were looking for capital improvement, though there were interest in capital improvements on the projects. So with those two things said, the shortness of the boundaries, the high cost of administering the loans, we're asking that we make 3 alterations to the procedures and guidelines here. And so if you remember, the Norwich Common Fund was broken into 2 things. One was a grant side and one was a loan side. The grant side will totally stay in place, which will allow nonprofit citizens or just groups to still come and get grants. That's not going to change. The big thing that will change with the loan side is 2 things. We remove beautification from it before as an eligible project, right? Beautification could for something very well be painting a building, things that aren't necessarily as tangible as need be, right? So we remove beautification. We also ask that we lengthen the boundaries. So as you can see in this photo here, this was the original boundary. Once again, it started at 5th Street and ended at S Street. The new boundary that we're asking for starts at the same 5th Street and ends at L Street. As you start to notice also, once you get to S Street, the boundary lines now go from lane to lane, not necessarily the actual back streets to back streets. And the reason why is that we really wanted to make sure that we keep the spirit of the renovation of homes and businesses up in the Norwich Common area and the businesses on between the lanes from S Street down to L Street. And so that's why you see it kind of narrows out and go from lane to lane. The second thing is that we're asking is the cost of administration was high once again because we were asking for things like title searches in order to put liens against properties. So Brian and I had a conversation. He was really great and kind of hammering this thing out. And the question was, how do we serve businesses? How can we get a lower reduction in cost of administering the loan? And by doing those 2 things, this will allow us to service more people. Well, the best idea that we came up with was we can do UCC filings, right? And I think Brian can speak more to it, as you guys have more questions with that. And so as long as there's a tangible item, there's a piece of equipment, there's a business that may need a hood for a restaurant, there's a landscape company now that needs a piece of equipment that's located within that area. There's a commercial washer, right, who has now, because of COVID, whose now business has expanded 3 times, but now he can't get enough water into the building. And so literally now he's washing clothes until he runs out of water, take the rest of the linens and run them out to the county to wash them there in a residential or retail laundromat, right? So these are the kind of issues that we wanted to solve with making these changes. And once again, with a person like that, we can do something as simple as a UCC filing. That's very low cost. It'll make this process a lot faster. It'll make it more efficient for us also. So number one, the issue that we had, our boundary lines were too short. We had a high cost of administering the loan. The three solutions that we are offering for those two issues is lengthening the boundary lines to what you now see on the screen. We want to remove beautification because there really isn't a way for us to collateralize beautification, whether it's some sort of beautification through painting the building or landscaping. The second thing is to know that there will be a change from every loan that we do having a title search to basically a majority of the loans that now we will start to complete will have UCC filings for them, and we will use property liens and title searches only when they're necessary. Are there any questions?
Well, yes. One question I have is I noticed that the URA is who you're trying to enter into agreement to administer this grant or this loan, excuse me.
Yes, sir. I was going to get to that next, but if you want me to move on to that one, I'll get to that also. So yes, this is a suggestion that we kind of spoke about with the finance committee, right? It's still up to the commission, but one of the ways that we are able, or we could utilize the URA and give them activities and responsibilities, and it will actually fall within the guidelines of, you know, their charter, is giving them the ability to administer the Norwich Common Revolving Loan Fund. With that said, this is a preliminary MOU that was put together by their attorneys that was sent over to Brian. And, you know, Brian had a chance to look over it. With everything that's in here that you're able to see, what it's really saying is that as a way, as a revenue generator and as a way to pay for time of them taking in applications and actually doing the reviews and any due diligence that has to come along with this particular process, that they were looking to get a 2% fee from the approval and processing of any of the loans. And so that's something that's totally up to the commission as a whole. But as of right now, that was a suggestion that the URA be put in a position to actually administer the Norwich Common Revolving Loan Fund. Yes, sir.
Well, I have no problem with them getting that fee because they have to have some type of way of generating revenue to sustain themselves since we have given them startup funds, excuse me. So that's fine. I was just wondering, I'm glad you told me that the URA attorney got with Brian so they can, you know, they are hammering out this thing. And that's fine. So I understand that. But I also see that you are the city's POC on this as well, like liaison. So that's good too. But I noticed that the monies will be still held in the city's coffers versus given to the URA, which I have no problem with that either. It's just something that I noticed.
That's not a rare thing. At the end of the day, it's still the city's funds. The city could very well say, hey, we want to take on the process of actually taking in applications, reviewing the loans and things of that nature. but it's still the city's funds. And so that's where the MOU portion of it comes in. The URA would be the one that's actually making the suggestions of approvals or denials or approving what amounts.
Right.
So it's definitely not a rare thing to do it this way. It's more, once again, we're trying to be as efficient as possible with the process.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question, Mr. Siegel. How are we communicating these incentives within the business community?
So once we get this portion of it kind of wrapped up now, it will be something as simple as social media, something as far as mailers. It'll be something as simple as the business networking and meetups that are kind of starting to happen now. And so I think that it's only just so much, but I do think that with the amount of new business that we have that is coming on board here in the city now, it won't be hard to get it out. I think also we've created an eligible actions and eligible projects that makes this easy for anyone that's in business to obtain, right? So it has a barrier of entry, but it's not a substantial barrier of entry. If you're in business, if you really want to do a project, if you have time to do a project, if 2 or 3 of you and a neighbor or you and a business partner was able to come together to do a project, that's what these funds are for. So I do think, just looking at the actions and looking at the projects, it'll be accessible to anyone that's in that area. And, it gives us the opportunity to participate in helping those citizens kind of grow in that area.
So really, it's not a barrier. It's just a qualification.
It's a qualification. You're right.
It's a qualification. Right. We don't like to use the word barrier. And as long as we are communicating appropriately and people know what's being offered and they know what the qualification criteria is, then they can apply and feel confident that hopefully they will gain what they're looking for, and the city and our economic development arm can move forward with what we want to do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd just like to say that we are working really hard. As you can see, the DDA has some great numbers going forward. And we are working with the URA, the land bank, and trying to get, staff support. I will be meeting with John Hunter, Travis, and Matthew, and just kind of hashing out some of the details about how we will provide our staff support for those groups, and also how we will collaborate on marketing and making sure the word's getting out collectively about all of the programs that the city has going on.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Stiegel, for that presentation. Commissioners, what's your will and pleasure on this memorandum of understanding?
Mayor, I'd like to offer motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding for the revolving loan fund for the Norwich Common Corridor and extend the corridor as presented by Mr. Stiegel in his presentation.
Second.
I got a motion, I got a second for the approval of this resolution for Norwich Street Revolving Loan Fund. Memorandum of understanding between, City of Brunswick and Urban Development Authority regarding the Norwich Street Revolving Loan Fund. Are there any other questions or comments?
I think if I could just real quick, Travis might hopefully agree with me. I think we'd want you guys to also adopt the guidelines.
Yeah, also adopt the guidelines. That's true.
I unfortunately am also suffering from the same fate as Travis right now, so my voice is a little rough, but I think that would be an important note as well.
I will amend my motion to include the same.
Thank you.
So Mr. Curry, you and Mr. Stiegel have been
we've been working, but mostly virtually, so I don't know how we passed it along, but it's yes.
All right, no
So
problem.
I will second appropriately.
Okay, good. Mr. Corey, Mr. Stiegel mentioned about the UCC or something similar to that.
Yes. He and I discussed this at length. I mean, there's obviously two ways to collateralize a loan. Typically, if it was a capital improvement to the property, you could put the property up as collateral, or if it was equipment, you could file a UCC, which is essentially a lien against property filed in the Glenn County Superior Court Clerk's office. The best example given, and I think Travis talked about it a little bit tonight, would be like the laundromat needing a new industrial sized washer. If that was at risk of putting, if they had to pay cash for that, putting them at risk of closing or something along those lines, they could come to this particular fund, seek out a loan, provide proof of a bill of sale and serial number that we would then list on the UCC filing. And once the sale closed, we would take the UCC filing and file it with the Glenn County Superior Court Clerk's office. If at any point in time they defaulted on the loan, we would then take that and seek out foreclosure on the equipment. It's just a far more efficient way. Running a title search on someone's property can be cost prohibitive. It can be timely, considering the market as it is right now. Title searches are not necessarily flying right back to you. And you're placing a lien on somebody's property. I mean, you could be second in line, third in line. If you are eligible to be first in line, and this is kind of some of the stuff Travis and I spitballed, it would be the city of Brunswick foreclosing on people's properties if they defaulted on their loans. And I don't know if that's the intent. Travis and I talked about this quite a bit. The intent of the loan is to try to help businesses, help people, take care of things that they need to keep their doors open. So that's kind of what we came up with. It's just a far different situation is to be able to just list everything out on a UCC, file it with the Superior Court Clerk's office, and then you would ultimately, in collecting, bring an action to go seize that property, and then you could sell it. Property meaning equipment.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining that to us, and I thank you, you and Travis, for also ensuring that the city's monies are being protected in some similar way, that in case someone defaults on a loan, that's something that we do have recourse to try to obtain the city's money back, the people's money back, so we can loan that money to someone else who has a need for it. So we appreciate that very much. Okay, I have a motion. I had a second with stipulations, with the additions that was presented. Are there any further questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Not hearing anything from the opposing side, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we are now our next item. Give me a quick minute. Item number 6, consider approval of commission to sign letter of support for the redevelopment of 3302 Glen Avenue. Mr. Stiegel is presenting again. Can't hear you, Mr. Stiegel. Are you muted or you just haven't gotten together yet?
Must be muted.
Yeah, he must have been at the same place Brian Corey was at. I don't know.
No, you can hear me.
Okay,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Okay. All right,
Yes, we
guys.
hear you.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Over the last maybe 3 months or so, I've been working with Bill Gross. You guys know WH Gross Construction Company, the developer of Norwich Common on Norwich Street. He's now the developer of Perry Place on MLK. Now he has been given an opportunity to come back with a third project. I do think that this project would bode very well in our commitment of providing affordable housing here in our city. This particular project is located on 3302 Glen Ave, better known as the Golden House Inn.
Better known as the dilapidated hotel. Yes.
Well,
the eyesore on 17. Everybody knows that.
It's a bit of an eyesore on 17. That's why we believe, number one, with the right amount of community support, with the projected plans and project that he's having to turn in to actually get through the first phase of this project with DCA, we are really strongly asking that the commission as a whole give support specifically for this project to redevelop that site. He has site control, so he has gone through the process of getting a contract solidified with the owners. And as of right now, we're in the midst of helping him submit in an application to the Department of Community Affairs in order for him to attract more tax credits in order to build the project. He went to the county. The county was in support. And now this was a letter that was in your packet also. And it's just a letter of the city council support to put this project together. As of right now, what we do know is that if it does come to fruition and he's able to get it, we probably will get anywhere between 52 and 57 new affordable housing units there on that site.
That's good. Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? How soon would he be able to get this if it's approved?
So if it's approved, it actually goes in within, I think, this Friday. So we'll probably know sometime in the fall, maybe in the October-ish time when he would get it or not. It'll be something similar to the same as it was for the Perry School site, you know, where we find out toward the fall. If we got it, we start breaking ground Q1 of the next year.
Okay. Well,
So
go ahead.
are we necessarily behind the 8 ball only because he was awarded fairly recently the Perry School site? I don't know how, I know, I'm sure it's very competitive, but are there other measures we need to take as a commission within our community to make sure that this project moves forward?
So I think you hit it on the head earlier, Commissioner Martin. We've set up so many incentives and so many tools to be ready for this particular occasion. The only thing we don't have is our own construction company in our back pocket, right? So this letter is extremely important. So that's actually why I'm going to ask if there's a way that if everyone can have this figured out, you know, have it signed so I can have it to him by tomorrow, 11 or 12ish. That's the biggest thing right now, is to get this community support. Just so happened, Mr. Gross is really good at these particular projects. He's doing them here, Savannah, Waycross. I think that would be it. I will probably end up sending you guys individually the email addresses to Ms. Cremonti, and even a personal little, hey, listen, I know we signed a letter, but I really would like to give the support behind this. And so our community is growing. I think DCA has not only partnered with us, but has allowed quite a few dollars to come into our city. And they see that when we are awarded dollars, that we are using them very responsibly, and we are using them in our community. And they really like when we get projects done. And I think that we've proven it so many times that we're able to get it done, especially with you got someone like John Hunter that's over in planning, that that gets it, know how to move barriers out of our way. I know barriers, I guess, is the catchword for me today. But he's making this very easy for us. And so, to answer your question, having everyone sign off on the letter that's in front of him, and us being able to get that to him in a reasonable time by tomorrow, and you guys sending your own personal emails to Ms. Cremonti would definitely be the help right now. But everything else, from enterprise zones to the things that we've decided to have with the tax allocated district, the overlay. This will be the first catalyst project, residential project, that allow us to use the overlay district, right? That's going to set the tone for what everything else should look like in that area.
We worked really hard on that too. That took a lot of public input and a lot of commission approval and vetting. So
that's right.
It's good to see that come into play now.
That's right.
Is this part of the opportunity zone as well?
Not this side of the street.
Okay.
So hopefully this project will start a project on the opposite side of the street, which is the opportunity zone.
Okay.
Although it's pretty nice to know that the workforce housing, affordable housing, will have a wonderful
marsh
view. That's right. I mean, they're going to be royally treated. And thank you, Mr. Siegel. I would just hope that maybe you can provide the correct email address that we can all do what we need to do in order to move this project forward. And if there are other avenues that we need to seek out as far as support, that you would make that happen. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? One thing, Mr. Siegel, have you talked with the Housing Authority Board, maybe to ask for their input? I know they have nothing. I know they are doing public housing, but yet still, just as in letting them know that. And they always have a backlog.
Yep.
Trying to get people in housing. So.
Yep.
All right. Good. Okay, commissioners. What's before us is Mr. Stiegel's asking us to sign this letter to push forward to DCA to help Mr. Gross secure tax credits for development of the eyesore on 17. I think one of the reasons.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the commission to sign a letter of support for the redevelopment of 3302 Glen Avenue.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion second for the commission to sign a letter of support for this project. Are there any further comments or questions?
I think we'll be glad to see this move forward.
I think so too.
In such a wonderfully appropriate manner.
All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Oppose? Nothing from the opposing side. That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stiegel. Thank you so very much for being diligently and getting that done. I'm pretty sure this whole community is, if that happens, this whole community gonna be gonna raise you up as one of our superheroes. So we thank you for that. Okay. All right, moving right along. We'll just our next item on the agenda is item 6A. And it's for to declare certain vehicles at the police department surplus, and our chief Kevin Jones is presenting. Excuse me, Kevin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I have before you this evening a list of items, including, or 37 items, including 35 vehicles for you to consider to be declared surplus. Majority of these are older model Crown Victorias from the early 2000s up through 2008. There's also a light trailer that is no longer serviceable and we cannot receive parts for, and also a old speed wagon, and I believe it was from 2003, 2004, that is no longer serviceable. And we have received another one since to replace that speed wagon. So I bring these before you for consideration to declare them surplus. One of the vehicles Public Works does want to keep, it's one of the 2008 trucks. They think that they can fix that up and use that. So we'll certainly let them have it if they like, but the other ones are ready for your consideration.
Okay, Commissioners, this has been sent to us by Naomi, by our city clerk, and they listed all these vehicles and the equipment that's there for surplus, also with pictures. Hopefully, we all got a chance to look at them.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the declared unused vehicles as surplus as listed and presented by Chief Kevin Jones.
I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
All right. Motion second to declare unused vehicles as surplus as presented by our Chief of Police, Mr. Kevin Jones. Are there any further questions or comments? I'm pretty sure someone will ask you, are you going to declare them on Gov Doves or whatever?
Yes, sir. Rick Charnock will put them on Gov Deals.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Looking for the opposing. Do you have anything to say? Hearing nothing from the opposing team. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Hopefully we'll be able to get you some new vehicles as well. We understand what happened during the SPLOST, so just hang with us, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Commissioners, we have come to the end of our regular printed agenda. Are there any need for executive session?
Yes, for litigation.
We can't hear you, Mr. Corr.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to executive session for litigation.
Second.
Okay, motion second for this commission to retire to executive session for litigation. Any comments or questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yes, well, just only litigation?
No, I'm sorry, real estate as well.
And real estate, okay.
All right, amend my motion to include executive session for real estate.
Second.
All right, report promotion second for retire to executive session for litigation and real estate. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. No opposes. All right, we will go into executive session, and after which we'll come back to our regular meeting and adjourn. So I'll see you guys on the other side.
Was that credential sent out by the clerk?
I don't know.
I got it from Naomi Monday at 11:38.
Okay, I'll look for it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm back. Do we have enough to adjourn?
Yes. Oh, yes, if Commissioner Harris is there or Mayor Pro Tem's there.
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion, second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's get out of here,
Aye.
everybody.
Good
Love you
night.
guys.
Thank
Love
you.
Good night, thank you.
All right.